Hello everyone and welcome to this third video of the PvM series abilities. This is the third time I type this out, so I hope this time it goes okay. So we're going to be talking about abilities this time. We're going to be talking about types of abilities, how to read ability, how to know how it works. And the first thing for that is know the ability tooltip. And the ability tooltip has an icon, a name, and a type on the top left corner that will indicate a couple of things to us. First of all, the name of the ability and if it's a basic, threshold, or ultimate ability, and lastly the icon. An important thing to know about the icons is that it not only is unique for every single ability, but it is colored depending on the type. So Quake here is orange, that means it's an ability that requires a strength level. We have yellow abilities that require an attack level, gray abilities that require defense levels, red abilities that require constitution levels, green abilities that require ranged, and blue abilities that require magic. Usually those colors are the colors that are assigned to every single one of those skills, so that shouldn't be so tricky to get. Next, on the right, we have the target and the cooldown, and that means what kind or what types of enemies it hits and the amount of time you need to wait between uses. So if I use Quake right now, I need to wait 20 seconds, but I can use it again. There's a timer and they get grayed out so you can see it more visually, but it's important to know that every single ability, even basic ones, have a certain cooldown. Last but not least, on the lower part of the ability, we have a level and equipment required. So Quake has a requirement of 37 strength, so if anything happens and my strength goes below 37, I can't use that ability. And it requires a two-handed melee weapon to use and 50% adrenaline, which we already know because it's a threshold. Besides that, on the middle, we will see the special effects the ability have. So Quake hits with a certain percentage of damage. It hits enemies adjacent to the primary target and reduces defense and increases affinity on every single target hit. So that is a very good ability, and Quake is one of those that we need to keep track. Then we've got tooltips, and for tooltips we have the kind of equipment we need to use this ability. So you have dual wield range, melee, dual wield range, dual wield magic, two-handed melee, two-handed range, two-handed magic, and a shield equipped. And those tooltips are the requisites you have to create or to use that ability in combat. So if you're using a bow, you can't use Quake because Quake is a two-handed melee weapon. And once we get to that, let's talk about the targeting tool. And the first tooltip we have is single target. Whenever we're doing single target combat, we will be fighting against one enemy. We will be only dealing damage to one enemy. Thus, we'll be focused on that one. Most abilities in the game are single target, so don't expect to go boom so easily. Second, we have multi-target abilities, and multi-target abilities are abilities that spawn between various targets. They do not hit around you, they hit around the enemy itself. So they go and bounce off the enemy into other targets and so on and so forth. Then we have area of effect abilities. And area of effect abilities are similar in multi-target abilities in the way that they affect enemies around, but this time area of effect abilities affect enemies directly around yourself. So it's not around the target, it's around yourself that you will be dealing the damage. Most area of effect abilities are melee based, but there are some ranged and some magic based. And finally, we have self-target, and those are the abilities that don't affect the enemy at all, or they affect the enemy in a very low way, in a very small way, and they mostly affect the chart. So there are buffs, there are debuffs, there are abilities that work around you, and that's why they're called self-target. So those are the tooltips, those are the important informations. We're now gonna talk about special kinds of abilities. And the first special kind of ability we're gonna be talking is damage over time, or bleed abilities as they are called. And as you can see on the video, bleed abilities or damage over time abilities are abilities that you can use on your enemy And once you use that ability on your enemy, in this case Slaughter, it will start dealing damage a couple of times over and over and over again until the effect ends, with various times and various effects. So we have different damage over time abilities. We have here on the left every single damage over time icon, and these are abilities that are very good in combat that you should prioritize. Whatever the case, whatever is happening, you should use them as much as possible, because they will increase your damage output by a lot. They are one of the most powerful abilities. It's just spread out heavily through a certain amount of time. There are ways to increase the amount of time, to increase the damage, to build them up, but we'll be speaking them later on. Then we have channeled and combo abilities. And channeled and combo abilities are abilities that do a series of hits in one interaction. They usually lock your character into place and your character will stop doing other actions, and meanwhile you'll be doing a series of things. These abilities are often really good, and it's important to start knowing on them, because sometimes the game gets a little laggy or a little failed by ending and your character takes a while to start attacking again. They've been trying on fixing it, but it's still a little delay. So most of the time, channeled abilities, you need to be clear when to use them, and right as they are done, use another ability to resume attacking as normal. But they are really good. They're especially good, and they are some of the best abilities in the game. You have Fury, that's one of the best basic abilities in the game. Snipe and Rapid Fire for range, and Asphyxiate and Onslaught for magic and constitution. And there are some crazy damaging abilities. So these ones are called channeled abilities and combo abilities, both in the game and outside the game. So check them out. Next, we have the stun abilities, and stun abilities are a little hard to explain on the dummies. So right now I'm showing a stun ability against one boss, and there it is. We're using a stun ability, and stun abilities are abilities that freeze the target in place. They prevent him from moving, and there are two kinds of stuns. There are stuns and there are binds. Stuns prevent the enemy and prevent you from doing anything. You can move, you can eat, you can attack, you can do anything for a certain amount of time, while bind abilities prevent you from moving, but you can still keep attacking. They come usually in the way of a basic and a threshold for every combat style, plus there are some styles that have extra, and special note here, magic has some spells that can bind the enemy in place for really long periods of time. For example, bind has entangle, and entangle can bind an enemy for over 20 seconds. So 20 seconds without the enemy being able to move is really important. Finally, we have the defensive abilities. And for defensive abilities, there are a lot. They are all classified into the defense group, so they'll all be great. And there are abilities with different situations, but most of the time they won't damage the enemy. They will help you or lower you in some way. And I'm going to be talking about the three that I think are most important for any learner player right now. There are a lot more that we're not going to mention right now, and we will say over the course of this guide, whenever one of those is necessary, we will explain how to use it. So the first one is either Resonance and Divert. There are two abilities. Resonance is unlocked automatically at level 48 defense, and Divert is bot is unlocked via Codex, and they are abilities that work with a shield and heal you proportional to the damage dealt. So you can see right now I'm about to die, and I resonance and I heal almost full health from that attack. So they are abilities that are used consistently through boss fights to save food, to save resources. The difference between them is that while Resonance heals you, Divert gives you adrenaline. So there are a couple of situations whenever you need adrenaline and you have full health, well, you can pop a Divert and get some extra adrenaline from that attack. They are both basic, so they give the usual adrenaline, and that's it for those two. The next one we're going to talk is Devotion, and Devotion is a special ability in the sense that it must be unlocked but it makes protection prayers 100% effective. So we're going to talk about protection prayers later, but they're basically a thing you can use to reduce incoming damage of a certain combat style, magic, range, or melee by 50%. While devotion is active, it lasts for 10 seconds and it can be extended, you will be protected 100% with your prayers. So as you can see right now, I'm getting hit with a very big blue ball of magic and I just get a pop, 1, no damage at all. And the last one is freedom and anticipation. Both of these are stun related, so you need to understand the concept of not moving as a dangerous thing. And what they do is, whenever you use freedom, you will be free of every stun, bleed, and other dangerous abilities you will have. So you can keep moving. As you can see on the video, I was stunned there. I couldn't move. I clicked, so I had to freedom and move to make my character move around. Anticipation reduces damage incoming for a couple of seconds and prevents stuns. So if you know you're being stunned, if the boss has a stun mechanic, most of the time you will try to use anticipation to prevent yourself from being stunned or from being dragged or from being done something. As again, there are a lot of more abilities. We're not going through every single ability in the game unless you guys want to, but that will be a very long video. And as honorable mentions, we have some very important defensive abilities to reflect, debilitate, barricade, immortality. And there are a lot of abilities that we missed that we should speak about whenever we need them in a boss, but those are the first ones to keep into account and to keep up when learning. Devotion is the only one that you can't get on the Grand Exchange. Devotion must be unlocked, but it's easy to unlock. We'll be there soon. We'll show you how to unlock devotion pretty soon, so don't worry about it. And that's it for today's video. We'll be talking next time about equipment. So we'll be talking about how to use equipment, what to wear, what to not wear, and how does it affect in the game the next time. As usual, it was a pleasure. Have a nice time. See ya.